I'm a little concerned, I will say, with the tone or the rhetoric of certain groups of believers recently who speak about advancing the kingdom of heaven, which is a good thing, but in ways that are not characteristic of the kingdom of heaven. So think about this. Our country, we have there's so many great things about living in this country, but we're becoming less and less Christian in the way we believe and in the way we govern and in the way we act. I mean, we all see it, right? Yeah, like we see this. We're not in a country that is moving closer and closer towards the ways of Jesus. But when we use angry, forceful, manipulative ways, whose weapons are we using? We're using the weapons of the enemy. When we come with anger, when we come with manipulation, when we model the ways of the world, can we really advance the kingdom of heaven? I know that you can point to times in scripture where evil was taken out in force by evil, and there was armies of people who were hungry for justice and righteousness to prevail. But let's consider the direct words of Jesus on where his blessing is. Matthew 5:5-7. Remember, it's the upside down way of living and discipleship. God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. God blesses those who hunger and thirst for justice. It might be interpreted righteousness for you. It's the same word that is interpreted in two different ways. For they will be satisfied. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Now, this is a triplet thought. Oftentimes when you're looking to interpret scripture, it's good to see it that the way that a lot of Jewish teaching was that whatever is at the center was the point that was trying to be made, and then you can see it framed. Sometimes it's framed with two things, sometimes it's framed with four things, that it's kind of a pattern. But if you want to go right to the heart and the center of something, then look what's around it. And if we can just leave that on the screen for a minute, guys, is that where Jesus was teaching, he's teaching about God is going to bless those who hunger and thirst for righteousness and justice, for they will be satisfied. But look how he says we're to do it. We're to hunger and thirst for justice and righteousness, but we're to do it in humble and merciful ways. So the upside down way of the kingdom, where God's blessing is not that we turn a blind eye to the injustices. Absolutely not. We need to passionately hunger that justice be carried out on earth as it is in heaven, as he taught us to pray. Yet at the same time, there is no space in the kingdom of heaven to say, I will get justice no matter the cost and no matter the method. And we tend to vacillate to one extreme or the other. We say, well, I don't need to worry about it. We say, by whatever means necessary, force, I will bring what's right. Reflection for you. What are the spaces in our world today that frustrate you because the kingdom of heaven is being ignored there? We all have them. I know we do. The things where we say, man, there's no way that this should be happening on earth today or in our country today. What is the thing that just drives you mad? You feel we have to stand up. You feel our voice has to be heard, which we should, because we are residents and citizens of this nation. We absolutely can advocate. But I want you to look at the model that Jesus gave us and then consider, how can we advocate in a way that God blesses? Not in a way that uses the weapons of the world, but in a way that God blesses. I want to bring you to John 8. There was the woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, and she was well known enough to the Pharisees that they could catch her in the act. So she was living a life that was not representative of the kingdom of heaven, and the Pharisees had every legal right under Jewish law to discipline her in the way that Jewish law instructed. And Jesus' response was truthful, righteous, and merciful. It became horribly painful to everyone around that no one was actually in the place to pass any other judgment, as he said, is there anyone who has not sinned? Then you go ahead and cast the first stone. But he said, since we are all in need of this kind of forgiveness and this kind of mercy, then we're not going to pass this on other people. And for the Pharisees there, they were not adulterers, but they had broken the law. And for many of us, we might look at other places in the world where we go, well, I'm not breaking God's law as much as those people are breaking God's law. I need to tear that down because I'm hungry and thirsting after righteousness. Think of the model of Jesus. He brought everybody back to reflect. He did speak truth into the situation and say, so if nobody's condemned you, neither do I, but then go and don't sin anymore. And as Jesus reminds us, we all still have a need for justice and righteousness in our lives. And the way of the kingdom of heaven is not in anger and is not in manipulation, is not in the ways of the world. The way of the kingdom of heaven is to stand for righteousness and justice in humble and merciful ways. That is where the blessing of the Lord rests. Talk about, again, an upside down way of thinking about the kingdom of heaven. So go back to that space where we said, what is the thing that just drives you crazy that the kingdom of heaven is not being experienced? How could you humbly and graciously bring righteousness and justice into that situation? Not with force, not with violence, but with humility and mercy.